So you recognize that you want to sell to people at the highest levels of an organization. You understand that those are the people that can actually make the decisions, that can pay the bills, that are going to be willing to buy on value. But at the same time, it's pretty intimidating to sell to someone who's a CEO or a CFO or a CTO or a COO, right? The C-suite is an inherently intimidating place to be making sales. Yet that's where most of the reward is. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to sell to power. C-suite sales must-knows. Check it out. They sit on the toilet every day. It's so important to understand that these are just people. We so often think of the CEO of a big company as this magical person, but the reality is that it's just a guy or it's just a woman. And these people are sitting on the toilet. They are dealing with the same issues that we all deal with. Their kids are frustrated with them. Their spouse is angry at them, right? They might be divorced. There's all sorts of things. These are just people. They're not someone that we want to put on a pedestal like there's some demigod or there's some special human being. They're just someone who has had some success and they're dealing with the same day-to-day struggles that every single person deals with. So recognizing that they just sit on the toilet every day is an important piece in starting to create some comfort in selling to the C-suite. Don't treat them like they're just this magical person. Just treat them like a normal person who deals with the same types of day-to-day issues that we all deal with. The C-suite, it's constantly frustrated. I cannot tell you how many salespeople say, well, whenever I'm selling to a CEO or a COO, they don't have challenges. They just have objectives that they want to accomplish. That's ridiculous. Of course, the CEO or the COO is dealing with frustrations all day long. That's literally the way it works. And by the way, just because you're the CEO of a company, you still have to answer to a board, or you still have to answer to investors, or you still have to answer to the private equity firm that actually owns the company. So they're dealing with intense levels of pressure and frustration all the time. And so understanding that gives you an opportunity to really help solve the challenges that are actually affecting them. So don't, again, assume that they don't deal with the same types of challenges just because they're at the high level. Now, maybe they deal with a different set of challenges. They're focused more on bottom line issues. They're focused not on the kind of little day-to-day maintenance stuff. They want to know the big questions, right? They want to solve the big issues around profitability or revenues, cost cutting, right? But ultimately, they are dealing with frustrations and challenges all day long. Speak to their challenges, not the little stuff. So this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see salespeople make when they transition from selling to lower middle management to the C-suite, is they bring the same set of challenges that connect with the lower level folks and they bring it to the C-suite. But the reality is that the C-suite, let's say it's the COO, and you have a solution that helps improve operations. The COO doesn't deal with the day-to-day issues in the assembly line or the day-to-day issues with maintenance. That's just not the stuff that they're focused on. They have people that deal with that stuff. So if, let's say, you brought a solution that helped improve the maintenance of a facility and you're selling to the COO, you've got to be focused on things like profitability or continuing of operations, not just like day-to-day breakdown of assembly line or things that are really going to be kind of dealt with by that lower level prospect. You've got to speak to the challenges that the prospect at the C-suite actually cares about in order for them to really want to engage with what you do. Look to get buy-in from down below. There are going to be decision makers, and then there are going to be other people who are actually pretty influential in the decision. So the C-suite, what we see is that they're not necessarily the sole decision maker. They're going to want to get buy-in from people who are a level or two below in order for them to even proceed with the solution that they're talking about or that they're exploring. So you want to not just ignore the people down below, you want to get buy-in from them. You want to make sure that they believe in what you're doing. So it's always great to kind of start at that C-suite, but also get buy-in from all levels, the people that might actually be using the solution, the people that it might actually be affecting, and make sure that they buy into what you're talking about as well. Lock in next steps always. One thing about the C-suite is that they are busy. These are people that are having a constant bombardment to taking time from them all day long. Let's say you get to the point where they say, yeah, you know what, send me a proposal. Most salespeople say, okay, great, I'll send you the proposal and then I'll check back in 2 weeks. That is a huge mistake. You want to lock in next steps always with the prospect. Because if you don't lock in a next step, the likelihood that you're going to get back onto a Zoom or back on the phone with them is almost zero. We always want to lock in next steps when we're in the current conversation that we're having. So if a prospect says, yeah, you know what, send me that proposal and then we can get back together. It's like, okay, great. Yeah, I'd be happy to put together that proposal. Why don't we take a look at calendar though, to have some time to just review any questions that you have. Boom, boom, boom. Now you are locking in next steps and you're keeping the sale moving forward. Because if you allow them to get off that call without locking in that next step, they're going to disappear. The likelihood that you'll get them back on is very hard. But if you get into their calendar from the start, now you have continuity. Don't supplicate. I see salespeople all the time who start to treat someone who is a COO or a CEO or CTO or a CIO or CHRO. They treat these people as if they're almost like a boss, or they're just like someone who is so superior that they have to be a supplicant. So a supplicant is basically someone who almost like kneels at the throne. Don't be that person who's a supplicant to your prospect. Treat them like an individual, treat them, with respect, but at the same time, don't treat them like they're just some magical person. That will cause them to sense weakness and start to push you around and really ultimately not have respect for you. If you are in the same room with them or you're on the same Zoom, then obviously they see value in what you're doing. So don't be a supplicant. Just treat them like a peer, like an equal, a human being who also puts your shoes on 1 foot at a time. Build that comfort zone. So this is really one of the most critical things that I think most salespeople miss when it comes to selling to the C-suite, is that they get so nervous when they're selling at the highest levels. They're super comfortable selling to someone who's low level, who they see as a peer, but once they start to get into that C-suite, they get really nervous. And that's a comfort zone issue. And one of the ways that we deal with it is just by building that comfort zone, by pushing yourself to sell at the higher level. So don't just be comfortable selling to middle managers or lower managers or someone with the title of buyer, but instead start to push yourself to get into the C-suite, to really start to just find yourself as a peer to these people as opposed to being so nervous, because that's going to keep you not only from getting into the C-suite, but also from making the types of commissions that you know you deserve. So there is how to sell to power. C-suite sales must knows. And if you enjoyed this video, then have an amazing free training on the step-by-step formula to closing more deals. Just click right here to get registered instantly. Seriously, just click right here. This is an in-depth training that will help you close more deals at higher prices, all while generating more meetings. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking my face, which should be right about here, to get access to a new video just like this one each week.